Welcome to Medieval History Channel 97, where the echoes of the past come alive. Step into the world of knights, castles, and forgotten legends as we journey through time together. Let history speak. Tonight, we're stepping into a part of history that most books barely touch, the lives of women who lived and worked in Victorian brothels. I know it might seem like an odd choice for a bedtime story, but stay with me, because this isn't about scandal. It's about survival, about real women, with real hearts and hopes, doing what they could in a world that offered them so little. And hey, if these stories speak to you, I'd be so grateful if you liked or subscribed. Let me know where you're listening from too. I never stop marveling at how this little corner of the internet brings people together across cities and time zones, all drifting to sleep with stories of the past echoing in their minds. So go ahead, settle in, sink into your mattress, pull the blanket up a little higher, and take a deep breath. Let the day fall away. We're about to travel back, not just through time, but through lives lived quietly and courageously in the shadows. Close your eyes. You wake up in London. The year is 1857. It's early, dawn hasn't quite broken, and the air still clings to the weight of night. You're not in a grand bedchamber. There's no silk, no warmth of a fireplace crackling to greet the day. You lie instead on a mattress stuffed with coarse horsehair, the springs beneath groaning slightly as you shift. A thin woolen blanket wraps around your body, not for comfort, but necessity. The kind of warmth you bargain for with endurance. The sheets haven't been changed in days, maybe a week. They smell faintly of lavender water, the cheap kind, the kind that tries and fails to cover the musty undertone of long nights and long sighs. The room is cold. The fireplace sits dormant, coal is expensive, and warmth is rationed like everything else here. The wallpaper once carried a soft charm, faded roses curling across yellowed paper, but time and dampness have left it peeling, wilting like forgotten petals. You breathe in, and the scent tells a story all its own. The sour smokiness of coal drifting in from the chimneys, the heavy scent of the Thames, muddy, sewage-filled, and something sharper, cloying. Perfume, powder, the chemical sweetness that lingers on skin long after the clients leave. This is your room, shared, not yours alone. The other bed is occupied, the woman in it still asleep, her breath a soft, steady rhythm in the quiet. You don't know her whole story. Most women here keep their pasts close, like old scars hidden beneath lace. But you've heard enough in broken whispers and sleepless nights to know there's pain there, like yours. The mattress creaks beneath you as you stretch your legs, feeling the ache of another night's labor settling in your bones. For a moment, you just breathe, just be. These are the rare minutes you claim for yourself, before the knocking, before the demands, before you have to become someone else again. Outside London stirs. Hooves clatter on cobblestones, the sharp steel-rimmed wheels of carts scrape against the street. You hear the first vendor cry out, "Fresh bread!" his voice bouncing off soot-streaked stone. The city is waking up, never really asleep, always hungering. And you? You're Mary now. That's what they call you here. It's not your real name, just the one that keeps you safe, keeps your past out of reach. You've been at this house for almost 2 years, long enough to see the revolving door of survival. Girls who arrived hungry and left worse, girls who found ways out, girls who didn't. Some moved up, fancier houses with silk sheets and stricter rules. Some just vanished, swallowed back into the alleys that raised them. And some, they never made it past the fever that came without warning. Illness doesn't knock. It slips in through cold floors and shared needles and breathless clients. You sit up slowly, wrapping the blanket around your waist. The floor is freezing. Splintered wood biting at your soles as you step out of bed. You reach for your shawl, the one hanging on the bedpost, threadbare but familiar, and pull it around your shoulders. It's scratchy, but it holds warmth the way a memory does, a kindness you cling to. And in this small gesture, in the weight of fabric, in the silence of dawn, you remember that you're still here, still breathing, still surviving. Because in a world like this, that in itself is no small feat. On the small table between the beds rests a chipped ceramic pitcher and matching basin. The water inside is sealed beneath a thin film of ice, the kind that glints faintly in the gray morning light. London's winter spares no one. You dip your finger in, cracking through the surface, cold slices into your skin like a blade, and then you splash your face. The shock snaps you awake. For a heartbeat, your breath catches. Then it settles. And now, let's speak plainly about how you ended up here, in this room, in this life. Because it wasn't the kind of story people whisper with pity or scandal in their voices. You weren't dragged into this world as a child, kidnapped or sold off, though you've met girls who were. You weren't ruined by a charming man in a dark coat who vanished with the sunrise, leaving you swollen with child and emptied of choices. No, your path didn't carry the weight of drama. Yours was quieter, simpler, and in that simplicity, more universal. You were a seamstress, and a damn good one. Nimble fingers, a sharp eye for detail, and a sense of pride in your craft. But London doesn't reward skill when there are too many hands offering the same. Thousands of women, just like you, competing fiercely for a scrap of work that barely kept you fed. You stitched your soul into gowns you could never afford to wear, bent under gaslight for 14, sometimes 16 hours a day. Your eyes strained, your back ached, and in the winter, your cracked fingers bled into the fabric. The British Quarterly once remarked that factory life was a game compared to that of a dressmaker's apprentice. They weren't wrong. You worked yourself raw for pennies, just enough to keep your name on a slanted doorframe in some cold boarding house and a crust of bread in your pocket. Now you lean back. The wall behind you is rough but steady. You breathe in, let your shoulders fall from your ears, a small act of grace, a moment of rest. And then the memory returns, vivid, stubborn. It was winter. 3 years passed. You hadn't eaten for 2 days. The small room you rented had no heat. You could see your breath while you worked, the mist of it curling in the air like smoke from a dying fire. You were desperate to finish a commission that, if the client paid at all, might just cover your rent. Your fingers were so numb that the needle slipped again and again, leaving dots of blood on the pristine white linen. Each drop felt like a small defeat. Then Jane came. You hadn't seen her in months. She'd been a seamstress too. But the girl standing in your doorway looked different now. Her cheeks had color. Her dress was plain but warm. Her boots weren't cracked. She didn't smell like hunger. She brought a meat pie, hot and fragrant. She didn't say much at first, just handed it to you and watched while you ate like someone afraid the food might vanish mid-bite. "There's a place," she said eventually, "off Haymarket. A house. Madam's strict but not cruel. No beatings, no tricks. You get fed real food, a warm bed, doctor checks once a week." She hesitated. You remember the way she studied your face before she went on. "You'd make in one night what you make in a week here, Mary, and you wouldn't have to bleed for it." She looked at the pile of unfinished sewing beside you. You looked too, but you didn't answer her. Not yet. You were raised properly by God-fearing parents in a house where grace was said before meals and chores were done without complaint. But now they're gone. Your mother, your father, buried and silent. Your brothers scattered like ash on the wind, chasing wages in cities you'll never see. And you? You've ended up here, slowly starving, but not from hunger. From life itself, drained stitch by stitch, hour by hour, until even your breath feels borrowed. The memory of it weighs heavy. You feel it in your chest, a familiar ache, as you sink a little deeper into the thin mattress. The sheets are coarse but warm. You let your breath slow. In, out. Again. Just like that. It's the only thing you can still control. The house is beginning to stir. Footsteps echo on the stairs, slow and solid. That will be Mrs. Winters, the housekeeper. A woman built of corners and discipline. Then comes the scrape and clatter of coal in the parlor grate, the soft crackle of fire catching. You can already smell the coffee rising. Real coffee, not chicory. It's one of the few indulgences in this place that calls itself refined. Beside you, a shift in the sheets. Your roommate turns over, mumbling in her sleep. Lily. That's the name they gave her here. She's younger, barely 19 to your 24. Pretty in a way that men notice. Auburn hair, pale skin, quick smile. She once told you she worked a loom back in Manchester. The noise there stole the hearing from one of her ears. You think of that sometimes when she doesn't respond right away. It's time. You swing your legs over the edge of the bed, feet meeting the chill wooden floor. The weight of the morning settles on your shoulders like a shawl you didn't choose. Expectations wait downstairs. Mrs. Winters runs a disciplined house, and lateness is met with cold eyes and colder consequences. Then there's the madam, Mrs. Cartwright when she's in the room, Carty when she's not. She expects perfection. By noon, every girl must be presentable, polished, ready. The house has a rhythm. Morning is the quietest, meant for rest, recovery, ritual. Cleaning, baths, brushing hair smooth again. The regulars come in the afternoons, men with time to kill between meetings, craving softness between obligations. But nights are full. Perfume, silk, and the low hum of laughter that isn't quite real. The illusion must be perfect. That's the rule. For now, though, you have these few private moments. Your hand finds the tin on your bedside table. Inside, a small lump of beeswax. You warm it between your palms, then press it gently to your cracked lips. The wax softens them, another small kindness in a world that rarely offers them. Cartwright insists on it. "You're selling an illusion, girls," she says, voice like lace over steel. "Gentlemen don't want the truth. They want the dream." She's not wrong. Men don't come here to be reminded of their wives, their mortgages, the cold dinners waiting back home. They come here to forget, to be adored, to feel, if only for a few hours, that someone sees them as more than what they are. You nod to yourself, almost unconsciously. It's a truth you've made peace with. Fantasy pays better than honesty. You rise, stretch your arms toward the ceiling, bones cracking softly. There's a strange pleasure in the movement, a reminder that your body still belongs to you, at least in these early hours. Your nightdress, plain cotton, sways around your legs. Nothing like the silks you'll wear later, the delicate armor of your profession. You turn toward the wardrobe. Time to dress the part again. The curtain of the day is about to rise, and you, whether you want to or not, are center stage. During the day, when you're not working, you disappear into ordinary clothes. A simple dress, practical shoes, nothing to catch the eye, nothing that might mark you out as different from the seamstress, the laundress, the clerk's wife rushing to the market. That anonymity is your armor. It's what keeps you safe. The law doesn't outlaw brothels outright, but it draws sharp lines around where and how women like you can exist. The police mostly turn a blind eye, especially to houses that know how to grease the right palms. But discretion isn't optional, it's survival. You choose a dark blue dress, its color softened with age, but carefully mended at the seams. You lay it gently across the bed, smoothing the fabric as though it's silk, not cotton. Dressing during daylight feels different. There's no rush, no hurried tugging or fumbling with buttons between customers. Here, in this quiet hour, there's time to honor the small rituals. Stockings first, then the petticoat. The corset is drawn only snug enough to shape, not to suffocate. You breathe as you lace it, steady and slow, as if preparing not for work but for war. Your thoughts wander. Tuesdays are usually slow. You know the rhythm of them by heart. Perhaps Mr. Phillips will come, the mild bank clerk with thin hair and softer hands who always brings the faint smell of paper and ink. He never asks for much. A little touch, a little talk. He shows you his stamp collection as if sharing a secret. Or maybe it'll be young Smith again, the one who barely speaks and leaves before the sheets have had time to warm. His loneliness lingers longer than his body ever does. Outside, London begins to stir, not all at once, but in layers. The patter of feet, the cries of hawkers, the shriek of children's laughter rising above the muffled hum of a waking city. A dog barks. A vendor sings, his voice curling through the cold morning air, "Knives to grind! Knives to grind!" And it strikes you, as it often does, how ordinary it all is. How this life, yours, unfolds just inches from respectability. How sin and virtue live side by side, divided only by doors and silence. The baker delivers fresh loaves to this house, just as he does to the widow who lets rooms next door. The iceman never asks questions. The coalman gives the same nod whether the grate he fills belongs to a parlor of conversation or a parlor of clients. To the city, you are a shadow in plain sight, one of many. You sit on the edge of your bed for a moment, letting your breath slow. Inhale through your nose, hold. Exhale through your mouth. Again, let the weight settle, let the day come gently. There's a knock, soft, polite. A voice follows, barely louder than the creak of the old door. "Hot water, miss." Betsy, only 13, a child still, with bones too thin and eyes too big for her face. She shouldn't be here. But she is, just like you were once. "Come in, Betsy," you say. The door opens. She enters carefully, carrying a steaming jug with both hands. Her cheeks are pink from the cold, her braid tight and neat, her sleeves rolled up like she's older than she should be. "Morning, Miss Mary," she chirps, pouring the water into your basin, steam rising in soft curls. "Cold one to Mrs. Winter says there might be snow later." You smile, gently, like offering a blanket. "Thank you, Betsy. Have you had your breakfast yet?" "Yes, miss. Cook made porridge with TLE. There's coffee in the kitchen if you want some, and fresh bread too." She says it with such warmth, such cheer, you almost forget where you both are. You nod, watching her go, feeling the faint sting of something like sorrow or hope. It's hard to tell sometimes. She's safe, for now. That matters more than you can say. This is one of the few things that sets this house apart. Regular meals and food you can actually stomach. In the worst brothels, when business dries up, girls might go hungry or be tossed scraps that barely qualify as food. But here, Mrs. Cartwright knows a simple truth. Healthy girls bring in more money. It's not kindness, but it's something. When Betsy leaves, you take your time washing with the hot water she left behind. The warmth settles into your skin like a comfort you didn't know you missed. The ritual grounds you, face first, then neck, arms, underarms, and finally, a careful rinse where modesty lives. Full baths happen twice a week here, Wednesdays and Sundays, in a copper tub hauled into the kitchen, more than most working women ever get, more than you ever had before. And when you're clean, truly clean, you begin to feel like a person again. You draw a comb through your hair, thick, dark brown falling to the middle of your back when undone. You twist it into a simple knot for now. Later, when the sun dips low and the men begin to stir, you'll style it with more intention. Maybe use the artificial piece, the one that gives you curls you never had, volume you never asked for. There's a small mirror on the dresser, its backing speckled with age like a memory that refuses to fade. You glance at yourself. You look better. Not prettier exactly, but fuller. The hollows in your cheeks have softened. Your skin has color now. It's what regular food can do. Rebuild a face that once looked half erased. But your eyes have changed. They're not soft anymore. They're sharp now, cautious. They've learned how to watch, how to measure a glance, how to weigh a silence. You see things now that the girl from the countryside never dreamed of, and some things she wouldn't survive knowing. You catch yourself staring. Too long. You break the gaze and return to the motions. Boots laced with fingers that know the work by heart. Every tug, every knot is a small act of returning to yourself. Your breathing falls into rhythm, slow and even. You are ready, dressed, composed. Breakfast comes first, then the usual house chores. Mrs. Cartwright keeps the girls busy, says idle hands invite mischief. You dust the parlor, polish glasses in the little bar. It's tedious but predictable. And predictability is a kind of mercy. Lily finally stirs beside you, sitting up with a yawn. Her voice is still blurred by sleep. "Morning," she mumbles, dragging her hair out of her eyes. "Just past 7, you reply. "Still early." She nods, stretches. "Had that dream again? The one with the sea." Then softly, "Have you ever been, Mary?" You nod. "Once, when I was small. Brighton. My family. It was one of the good days." "I want to go someday," she says, and her voice shifts, distant now, soaked in longing. They say the air's different there, that you can breathe, really breathe. It's not just her dream. It's all of theirs. A quiet, flickering hope to leave London behind, to find clean air, clean work, a clean life. Some girls make it, most don't. The money seems good, better than any factory or shop could offer, but it slips through your fingers. Some goes to food, some to rent, some to the clothes and cosmetics that turn you into the version of yourself they'll pay for. The rest? Little luxuries, sweets, soaps, a bit of silk, small ways to remind yourself you still matter. But the dream remains. It clings. Because even here, in this place built on trade and transaction, there's still room for a girl to close her eyes and imagine the sea. "You will," you tell her, though the words taste a little hollow. You're not sure you believe it yourself. Not really. Keep putting something aside each week, even just a shilling. It adds up. She nods. But the nod is more habit than hope. You both know the truth. Saving is a kind of fiction the poor tell themselves to stay afloat. There's always something waiting to take what little you've tucked away, a bad tooth that demands a surgeon's fee, a torn dress that can't be patched one more time, a friend's crisis that won't let you look away. Life swallows your small victories before they can even catch breath. A heaviness settles in your chest just for a moment, that quiet ache of knowing how tight the margins are. But you let it pass, you will it to pass. Your shoulders release, with a slow breath. That's better. Just easy now. I'll see you downstairs, you say to Lily, who's finally rising from the bed. Don't be too long. Mrs. Winters was stomping about earlier, and you know what that means. She's in a mood. Lily pulls a face, half amusement, half dread. I'll hurry. You leave, closing the door softly behind you, as if not to wake something fragile. The hallway outside is dim, the threadbare carpet muffling your steps. There are 4 rooms just like yours along this narrow stretch of floor, each holding its own story, its own morning. Below, the house begins to stir. The parlor where customers are greeted, the cramped dining room, the old kitchen tucked behind, the usual domains of the day. The best bedroom, of course, is on the ground floor, where Mrs. Cartwright keeps her watchful post, always close to the threshold where money enters and secrets leave. From the street, the house looks like any other. Trim and painted, curtains clean and drawn. A stranger would never guess what happens behind the brass-knobbed door. There's no red light, no obvious sign. Only whispers pass from one gentleman to another, from cab drivers who know where to deliver a certain kind of request, from hotel porters who take their quiet cut. As you descend the staircase, the scent of coffee rises to meet you, comforting, familiar. Then comes the richer aroma of baking bread, the sharp promise of bacon frying in a pan. Your stomach grumbles, grateful for this small mercy. The wood under your feet creaks, soft, old, worn by the weight of many lives. You drag your fingers along the banister, its lacquer faded smooth by years of morning descents. The fire has been lit. You can feel the edge of the cold receding as the house stretches into warmth. In the kitchen, the housekeeper's voice calls out orders, the clatter of pans, the rustle of skirts. These are the sounds of life trying its best to be ordinary. And for a breath, it works. In this sliver of morning, it almost feels like any home, any life. The rhythm of it soothes you, the repetition, the gentle pulse of normalcy. It's like a tide that carries you forward, one small wave at a time. You pause at the base of the stairs. Let yourself feel the quiet. Your shoulders are looser now. Your breath comes evenly. And despite the weight of everything, what you've lost, what you carry, there is peace here. The kind that lives in silence. The kind that whispers, you've made it through another night. And in this city, that's no small thing. The kitchen door stands open. Golden light spills into the hallway. Inside, the cook is at her post, her back broad and steady as she works. Betsy moves about, setting the table where the girls and staff will gather. Mrs. Winters sits by the hearth, spectacles low on her nose, a letter in her hand, and her hair tucked into its usual neat cap. Just a moment, just a morning, before the masks return, before the names blur, before the city demands something from you again. For now, it's quiet. And for now, you're still here. You draw in a long, deliberate breath, slow and steady, filling your lungs until your ribs ache just slightly. Then you release it, a soft exhale that carries more than air. It carries the weight you've been holding since waking. Your shoulders drop, your jaw unclenches. For a moment, you are only breath and silence. And in that stillness, something settles inside you. You're ready. You step forward into the familiar warmth of the kitchen. You tap where the day has already begun to shape itself. The mingled scent of coffee, fresh bread, and wood smoke curls around you like an embrace. There's a hum to it all, a quiet, steady pulse of life. It feels safe, it feels known. Bacon sizzles in the pan. Its rich, salty aroma dances through the air, making your mouth water in spite of yourself. Your stomach murmurs, a small human sound of longing. Not just for food, but for grounding, for something certain. Morning, Mary, the cook says without turning. Her voice is rough but kind. She always knows who's entered the room, not by sight, but by sound. The rhythm of footsteps, the weight of presence. Sleep well? Well enough, you reply, your voice gentle, almost automatic. You move toward the table where Betsy is already laying out the cutlery. You join her. The plates are smooth and familiar in your hands, the silverware catching the soft morning light just so. The work is easy, rhythmic, each action known before it's even thought. Outside, the world stirs louder. A distant bell chimes the hour, clear, solemn. Voices rise from the street below, vendors calling out their wares, a child's laughter, the rustle of feet on cobblestone. All of it, life continuing, indifferent and beautiful. It ebbs and flows, the soundscape of London, like the waves Lily speaks of when she dreams aloud of the sea. You've never seen it, but in your mind, It's endless, soft, forgiving, like breath, like prayer. And this morning has that same rhythm, quiet and sacred in its simplicity. The oven door creaks open and the smell of warm bread deepens. The loaf is perfect, golden, crackling as it hits the cool air. The cook sets it down with practiced grace. You can almost hear the sigh the bread gives, releasing its heat like a whispered secret. The table is worn and solid, its surface bearing the stories of all the hands that have touched it before yours. 8 chairs crowd around it, each with its own place, its own history. You slide into yours, your usual one, and the seat greets you like an old friend, smoothed by time, shaped by those who came before, and now, by you. There's something sacred in that, the continuity, the quiet knowing that you are part of something older than yourself. Cook places a large pot of porridge at the center of the table. The sound it makes is almost ceremonial, a soft thud that draws everyone's attention. It smells rich, made with milk instead of water, sweetened just enough to remind you that this house, though built on compromise, still offers small mercies. "Eat up while it's hot," she says, brushing damp hair from her forehead with the back of her hand. Her cheeks are flushed, her face framed by years of hard-won resilience. A widow, like so many here. She doesn't speak of loss. She speaks with care, through food, through presence. She feeds you like she's feeding her younger self, or a daughter she never had. You fill your bowl. Steam rises. It smells like comfort, like home might feel if you believed in it. The first spoonful is everything. Hot, creamy, sweet. It anchors you. You close your eyes just for a moment, and in that space between breaths, between tasks, between past and future, there is peace. It doesn't last, but it is real, and sometimes that's enough. The other girls begin to drift in, one by one. First comes Emily, a petite blonde with a soft, hesitant smile, who's been here for about 6 months now. She moves with a practiced grace, like someone learning how to disappear in plain sight. Then Sarah arrives, nearly 30 and older than the rest, her every step precise and efficient. There's a quiet gravity to her presence, like she's seen too much to waste time on anything frivolous. She's the one who helps Mrs. Cartwright with the accounts, her mind sharp as a pin and twice as piercing. Josephine enters next, still new, still fragile. Her eyes are puffy, again, from silent crying in the night. She tries to keep her gaze low, her voice lower still. You recognize that look. You remember wearing it once. Then Lily stumbles in, hair barely pinned up, her yawn half hidden behind a sleeve. She drops into the seat beside you just as Mrs. Winters begins pouring the coffee. You slide the porridge pot toward her and murmur, "Nearly missed breakfast." She leans in, eyes still foggy with sleep, and whispers with a crooked smile, "Worth it for 10 more minutes under the blanket." The coffee here is something close to sacred. Real coffee. Not that bitter chicory mix most working-class homes endure. This is strong, dark, and fragrant. You wrap your fingers around the cup, the heat bleeding into your cold knuckles. That warmth is more than just physical. It anchors you, steadies you. The steam curls up and you inhale deeply, rich, slightly bitter, and unmistakably real. The room hums quietly with the rustle of spoons and low chatter. There's an unspoken agreement. No business talk over breakfast. Instead, voices drift lazily over everyday nonsense. The butcher boy who slipped in the alley and sent a rack of lamb flying, the grocer's wife who might be expecting again, the fickle sky that can't decide between drizzle or downpour. Mundane details, meaningless maybe, but cherished all the same. These little nothings carry weight. They remind you, life doesn't stop here. For a moment, it's easy to forget where you are. Just a table, just women, just breakfast. You find yourself breathing easier, your body softening into the moment. Even the food settles warmly in your stomach, comforting in its simplicity. You sip your coffee again, bitter, bold, and strangely reassuring. After breakfast, the rhythm of the day begins. The house runs like a well-wound clock, each girl assigned a task with military precision. Mrs. Cartwright insists on it, not just for efficiency, but as armor against the disarray that ruins other houses. Routine, she believes, is a kind of salvation. Your task this morning is to dust the parlor and polish the glassware in the bar corner. It's menial, but the kind of work that lets your hands move while your thoughts go elsewhere. There's a quiet dignity in it, a rhythm that soothes. Swipe, wipe, shine. Dust falls away. Glass gleams. Something about it feels honest. The parlor itself is the soul of the house, or at least the mask it wears. It's designed with care. Solid wood furniture, slightly faded velvet upholstery in deep red, thick curtains that try and fail to hold back London's dim gray light. The room whispers of gentility, of careful restraint. On the walls, a few selected paintings, landscapes mostly, but one, placed just right, shows nymphs draped in classical suggestion. Not obscene, just enough to intrigue. This is deliberate. Everything here is deliberate, from the curtains to the cushions to the women who move through it, because outside eyes are always watching. And if a constable were to walk in right now, what would he see? A tidy parlor, some art. A few unmarried women having breakfast in a private home. Suspicious, yes, but criminal, not today. And that too is part of the survival. Not just the work, but the pretending, the softness, the steadiness, the ordinary grace of getting through one more morning. You begin your dusting in silence, the rhythm of it as familiar as breath. There's a quiet order to the way your body moves. Feather duster first, sweeping gently over broad surfaces, then a dampened cloth for the delicate corners and carvings. These motions, learned over countless mornings, have become almost meditative. They ask just enough of you to anchor your thoughts, but not so much that they drown you. Around you, the house hums with life. Mrs. Winters's sharp voice floats in from the kitchen, patiently correcting Betsy on how to properly black the range. The cook is already at her dough, humming a tune that seems to remember no melody. Overhead, Lily's footsteps whisper across floorboards as she tucks sheets and fluffs pillows. It's all so ordinary, so achingly, beautifully ordinary. The kind of domestic chorus that might be heard anywhere, and yet here it wraps around you like an old shawl, comforting, familiar, steady. On the mantelpiece, small treasures rest, delicate, untouchable. A porcelain shepherdess with a cracked smile, a brass clock that ticks just a second off, a pair of urns that gleam faintly in the filtered morning light. You dust them with care, returning each one to its rightful place with a reverence only those who live beneath scrutiny can understand. Mrs. Cartwright sees everything. Even a quarter inch astray is enough to draw her frown. The clock continues its quiet ticking, stitching moments together with quiet certainty. Outside the window, the city breathes. A maid from next door beats dust from a rug, her motions forceful, almost angry. A cat tiptoes across a crumbling garden wall with the solemnity of a priest. A young boy sprints past, fist closed around a message, a secret he's too excited to keep. Life goes on, unaware of your stillness. You turn to the small bar cabinet in the corner. There's nothing grand about it, just a few clean glasses and half-used bottles of cherry and brandy meant to loosen the edge off conversation, to soften the first few minutes of business. You begin to polish the glasses. Even unused, they gather a film. London's breath clings to everything. You cradle each glass in your palm, breath warm against its curve, cloth in slow, precise circles. The sound is gentle, a soft squeak, almost like a sigh. Round and round. Your breath falls in line. Inhale as the circle begins, exhale as it ends. It's a ritual, quiet, intimate, as if in those small moments you are not just cleaning glass, but preserving dignity. The minutes slip by without demand. Sunlight drifts across the floor in slow streaks, golden and indifferent. Your thoughts float gently toward the afternoon's tasks, toward the book tucked under your mattress, its spine already soft from so many readings. Dickens again. Borrowed from Sarah, who gets them from the bookseller gentleman who likes her laugh. And in all of it, this dusting, this stillness, this unremarkable morning, there's something you can't quite name. A feeling that maybe in the quiet tending of small things, in the care you offer objects no one notices, you are reclaiming something, a kind of grace, a kind of worth, one polished glass at a time. The new ribbon you might buy for your hair, if business is good this week, feels like a small promise, a quiet hope. It's not just a pretty thing, it's a fragment of control, of self. Simple thoughts like that are what get you through. A new ribbon, a warm roll from the kitchen, the brief comfort of a clean shift. You've learned? No, trained yourself not to look back too long. The past tugs like a current, dangerous if you linger. And the future? It's missed. Too far, too uncertain. This life teaches you a different rhythm. One breath, one step, one task at a time. You live in the now because anything else is too heavy to carry. The sound of the front door opening and closing snaps you back to attention. Heavy steps echo down the hallway, a man's stride, measured and familiar. Then Mrs. Cartwright's voice follows, lower than usual. There's no cooing in it now, no softness, just her crisp, composed register reserved for men with status. Good morning, doctor. Thank you for coming so promptly. Wednesday. Of course, medical day. It happens every week, like clockwork. The doctor comes to examine the girls, looking for anything that might threaten the house's spotless reputation. It's not about kindness, it's about caution. Disease in a brothel is a fire that spreads fast and kills slow. Other houses ignore it, let it rot them from within. But not this one. Mrs. Cartwright removes any girl who so much as shows a hint of illness. It costs her, yes, but she calls it an investment in continuity. You finish polishing the last glass, setting it down with care. Even the act feels sacred in its routine. The doctor's arrival shifts the tempo of the day. No more idle chatter, no more drifting through duties. Soon, each of you will be called, one by one, to her sitting room turned infirmary. Privacy is a luxury, and even now, it only stretches as far as a locked notebook in Mrs. Cartwright's desk. You walk back to the kitchen. The scent greets you first. The grounded warmth of chopped carrots and onions, the yeast-sweet rise of bread dough thickening in the bowl. Mrs. Winters stands watch, eyeing young Betts with the look of a woman who's seen too many blunted blades and sloppy cuts. Parlor's done, you say quietly. Shall I help here until the doctor's ready for me? She doesn't look up at first, only gestures toward Betts's uneven carrot slices. Then, no need. He's taking Josephine first, then Lily. You've got time for your washing. Laundry. The small, necessary rituals. Your own things, always done separately. Each girl scrubs her intimate pieces, her way of saying, this part, at least, is mine. The cloths for bleeding days, the underthings, the stockings that rub raw at the knees. You wash them gently. Not because they're fragile, but because you are. And in that quiet space, with soap on your fingers and steam against your face, you find something close to peace, a kind of cleansing that has nothing to do with water. You take your basket from the cupboard, wicker-worn and familiar, and carry it through the narrow hallway to the scullery. The room greets you with a shiver of coolness, stone floors underfoot, damp air clinging to the walls, and the faint scent of soap and ash lingering like memory. You move with purpose. Routine brings comfort. At the sink, you begin your task. Cold water first, pumped with effort from the basin's iron handle. Then a steaming kettle from the range to soften the bite. The mixture swirls together, ghostly tendrils rising like morning breath on winter glass. You dip your hands in. It stings at first, then soothes. You begin. There's something strangely satisfying about washing. The rhythm, the transformation. Soiled garments rubbed clean under your fingers. A communion of effort and purpose. You work the soap into the fabric with steady hands, massaging it in circles, watching as the dirt bleeds away. The water grows cloudy. Tiny bubbles catch the faint light like fractured rainbows. Here, in this quiet corner of the house, you are alone with your thoughts. No footsteps, no laughter, just the sound of water and fabric and the echo of what you know but seldom speak aloud. The doctor was here earlier. His weekly visit always leaves a shadow, quiet, lingering, a reminder of the stakes. You've seen what happens when illness takes root. The girl with the cough that never left, the one with sores hidden beneath powder and rouge, the trembling hands of someone trying not to be noticed. Sometimes they vanish with a warning, sometimes without a word. If they're lucky, a hospital bed. If not, well, there are corners of London where even memories don't go looking. You've been lucky so far. Mrs. Cartwright is strict about health and hygiene. Rules are rules. Washed linens, inspected clients, regular checks. It's not everything, but it's more than some houses offer. And luck here is measured in small mercies. Still, you know better than to trust it too deeply. Luck is a thread. It frays, it snaps. You finish the last piece, a simple cotton camise. You twist it firmly in your hands, water spilling back into the basin. The motion engages your arms, and you feel a flash of strength in your forearms, a reminder that your body, though used, is not broken. Not yet. Your hands, despite everything, are still soft. It's a small thing, but you guard it. Customers notice. They want silk, not sandpaper. It's absurd, the tenderness expected from hands hardened by survival, but that's the bargain. Always the bargain. You carry the damp laundry outside into the yard. The chill bites at your cheeks, the sky a dull gray overhead. A single clothesline stretches like a tightrope from wall to post. You hang each item with care, fingers pinching wooden pegs into place. Even here, precision matters. The air is cold but dry, a blessing. If the snow holds off, everything should dry by nightfall. You take a breath, deep, slow, the kind that fills you up after hours of held tension, the kind that reminds you you are still a living, breathing woman. It doesn't smell clean, not really. London never does. Smoke clings to everything, but it's less stifling than inside. The scullery, the parlor, the bedrooms, they press against you. Here, there's space. Here, there's sky. You tilt your face up to it, just for a moment, not expecting answers, only needing the quiet, the openness, the sense that even for a single breath, you are not entirely caged. You tilt your face toward the light, eyes half closed, letting the faint winter sun kiss your skin. For once, you ask nothing of the moment. No meaning, no memory, only the feel of light against your face and the clean bite of air in your lungs. Your breath deepens without effort, chest expanding as if there were suddenly more room inside your body. It feels good, real, yours. Then the back door creaks open. Lily leans out, one shoulder wrapped in a shawl, the other still bare. "Doctor's almost done with me. You're next." Her voice is casual, but her eyes linger on your face. "Anything interesting up there in the sky?" You smile, lowering your gaze. "Just the usual, sun, clouds, freedom." She snorts at the half-joke, amused but not fooled. "Well, come in before you freeze. Mrs. Winters is heating water for tea. She's made those currant buns you like." It works. The mention of warmth, of sweetness, tugs you gently back toward the world. You follow Lily inside. The moment you cross the threshold, the kitchen's heat hits you like a welcome touch. Your skin prickles as warmth begins to chase the cold from your bones. The kitchen is always the soul of this place, alive, busy, full of scent and steam and sound. It is where the house breathes. Cook is at the table, rolling out pastry for a meat pie, her arms strong and dusted with flour. The smell of butter and onion fills the air, grounding and familiar. In the corner chair, Mrs. Winters darning a stocking, tiny, even stitches, her eyes squinting just slightly behind her spectacles. That chair is hers. No one else even thinks of sitting there. Betsy darts between them like a honeybee, observing, helping, absorbing knowledge by osmosis and whispered instruction. Her movements are light but focused. She knows better than to linger without purpose. Lily hands you a mug of tea, hot, fragrant, faintly bitter. You wrap your hands around it like it's the first warmth you've earned all day. The steam rises, dancing. You blow gently across the surface and the ripples expand outward in soft, concentric circles. There's something quietly comforting in that. Cause and effect, the gentle predictability of water meeting breath. In a world where so little feels certain, that ripple is a tiny reminder that not everything slips beyond your control. "How was it?" you ask, your voice low, a flicker of apprehension in your chest. Lily shrugs, takes a sip. "Same as always, cold hands, few questions, wrote it all down, I'm clear." Then, leaning closer, she drops her voice further. "Josephine wasn't. Heard Mrs. Cartwright telling her she's on rest at least a week, medicine 3 times a day." You nod, not shocked. You've watched Josephine fading at the edges these past weeks, her eyes dulled with fatigue, that dry cough that refused to let go. It's probably treatable, nothing dangerous yet, but still, it's there. A whisper beneath the noise, a reminder. No one here is untouchable. The bell rings from the front hall, 3 sharp chimes. Mrs. Cartwright's signal. "Next girl up." That's you. Lily, mid-bite into a currant bun, glances over with a smile. "Don't worry," she mumbles, mouth half full. "He's in a good mood today. Barely poked at all." You set down your tea with a small sigh of regret. It had just reached that perfect warmth, soft, comforting, steadying. But the doctor waits for no one. His time is rationed carefully across houses like this one, his visits clinical, necessary, and never leisurely. You rise and move through the corridor toward Mrs. Cartwright's sitting room. Without thinking, your fingers smooth your hair, straighten your dress. These motions are instinct now, part of the invisible armor you've worn for 2 years. Always composed, always tidy, even when what's coming is not for beauty, but for biology. The sitting room has been rearranged for his visit. The polished rosewood desk has been stripped of its usual clutter and shrouded in a sterile white cloth. In its place, glass vials, a notebook, a stethoscope, a jar of tongue depressors. The cozy armchair you once curled into with a book has been shoved aside to make room for a single straight-backed chair set in the sunbeam from the tall window, an impersonal spotlight. Dr. Harrison is already there, sleeves rolled neatly, washing his hands in a porcelain basin. He's in his 50s now, hair graying, beard trimmed with care. Unlike some in his profession, he doesn't reek of bitterness or disdain. There's no cruelty in his hands, no threat in his presence. His manner is brisk, not harsh. His gold wedding band catches the light as he reaches for the towel. You remember once he mentioned his daughter studying medicine like him. Sometimes you wonder what his family thinks he does here, or whether he tells them at all. "Ah, Mary," he says, looking up, voice as familiar as your own name. "How have you been keeping? Any concerns to report?" It's a practiced phrase, but there's something in it, a pause, a warmth that acknowledges you're not just skin and symptoms. It's a small kindness, and you've learned to treasure those. "Well enough. Thank you, doctor. No concerns." He nods and dries his hands. Good, good. Well then, shall we proceed?" Mrs. Cartwright is in the corner, seated like a statue, present but distant, a silent witness. She's here to maintain propriety, to keep records, to ensure the line between duty and violation stays drawn. She never watches the exam directly. That, too, is a kind of mercy. You take your seat in the wooden chair and let the ritual begin. Breath in, breath out, open your mouth, say "ah," tilt your head back. His movements are efficient, measured. Then comes the more intimate part, gloved, quick, clinical. You look away, not because it hurts, it doesn't, but because it's easier to disappear if you're not looking. You focus on other things, the novel on your nightstand with the pressed flower inside. The currant bun waiting for you in the kitchen if no one's stolen it, the sunlight you'll chase across the garden wall later if the weather holds. Simple things, yours. All appears to be in order, he says at last, stepping back and peeling off his gloves. Continue as you are. He writes something down, your name, perhaps, or a date, and nods to Cartwright, who rises with a rustle of skirts. At the door, she says, almost absently, "Send Sarah in next, please," before vanishing back into the quiet of protocol. You step out into the hall and pause. You're fine. Nothing hurts, nothing bled, and yet there's that same emptiness again. Not from what was done, but from what was stripped away in the process. The sense of being reduced, of becoming only flesh and function, not feeling or thought. You breathe. Steady yourself and begin walking. Necessary, yes, for your own protection as much as anyone else's, but still there's an emptiness that follows. A hollowness that settles just behind the ribs. Not pain exactly, but something quieter and more persistent. Like an echo of having to disappear in plain sight over and over again. You return to the kitchen, the walls warm with morning heat, and the faint scent of bread still lingering in the air. You deliver the message to Sarah with a nod, then reclaim your mug of cooling tea. The ceramic is solid and heavy in your hands, a small anchor, something real to hold on to after the clinical numbness that so often follows those brief encounters. You take a long sip. The tea is bitter now, barely warm, but comforting in its familiarity. You reach for one of the currant buns resting on a chipped plate. It's still slightly warm. The currants, soft and sweet, burst gently against your tongue. Small luxuries in a world where tenderness is often rationed. From the hallway, the old clock chimes 12. Noon already. The morning has slipped past faster than you expected, as it often does when the house is full, when there's always something to be done or someone to be seen. Soon the rhythm will change. The house will shift into its afternoon pulse. Men with polished boots and pocket watches will arrive early, seeking comfort during their lunch hour. They come not for urgency, but for something slower, a softness perhaps, or simply silence. Regulars mostly. Men who know your name. Men who tip well for eye contact. You brush the crumbs from your dress and finish the last of the tea. There's time for a quick visit to your room, a brief moment of solitude before you re-enter the practiced theater of afternoon service. The stairs creak under your steps in that familiar way, like an old friend sighing. Upstairs, the house has gone still, the sacred pause between labor and performance. Even the sounds from the street feel subdued, as though the world outside is catching its breath too. Your room greets you quietly. Small, yes, but enough. More than enough. The bed, still unmade. The chest, worn smooth from use. The window, where the rooftops stack against pale sky. The only place in the house where you can see something that isn't touched by other hands. You catch your reflection in the mirror. Cheeks pink from the kitchen's heat, hair still neatly pinned. You look Ordinary, a girl in a plain dress, a face like any other. You could be a governess, a seamstress, a school teacher walking home with books in her arms. There's no scarlet letter stitched to your collar, no mark that says unclean, unworthy, undone, and yet you know what they would call you. Fallen, tainted, as if sin lies in the body alone and never in the transaction. The thought makes you smile, not from amusement, but from a kind of sharp weariness. The hypocrisy of it still stings. How the same society that points its finger at you is the one that pushed you here and keeps the door open for its sons and husbands to walk through without consequence. But the afternoon won't wait on your philosophy. You open your chest and run your fingers over the fabric folded inside. Not the fine silks or the lace-trimmed gowns. Those are for later when darkness makes everything feel safer and the clients come with heavier coin. For now, something just above modesty. A blue cotton dress with cleaner lines and a hint of lace at the collar. Understated, pleasant. It walks the line between too much and not enough, like everything else in your life. You hold it up to the light, then begin to change, one layer at a time, one careful transformation. From Mary the girl to Mary the comfort, the performance, the vessel, and as you button the last fastener, you exhale, not with dread, but with resignation. This is the shape the day takes now. This is the way survival looks. Changing is swift. You've done it so many times it's become instinct. Fingers moving with quiet precision, body following a choreography that no longer requires thought. The new dress slips over your skin with a softness that surprises you, lighter than the thick fabric of your workwear, almost tender in the way it settles on your frame. You pause at the mirror, tucking a loose strand of hair back into place, fixing a few pins, and giving your cheeks a gentle pinch. A borrowed blush, just enough to suggest warmth. No cosmetics yet, those are saved for after dusk. Daytime men prefer the illusion of the natural, a woman not working, but waiting. A girl not painted, just flushed from chance. This performance, too, you've learned by heart. You sit on the edge of the bed, still for a moment, the weight of your body sinking gently into the mattress. Inhale, hold, exhale. You breathe deeply, steadily, the way you were taught to when you needed to find calm in chaos. The line between who you are and who you must be stretches thin, but not invisible. This moment is how you redraw it. Your hand slides across the blanket beside you. The texture is rough, honest, anchoring. The weave presses faintly into your skin, reminding you, you are here, you are real, you are still yourself. Downstairs, the front door opens and closes, a muffled rhythm now familiar. You recognize Mrs. Cartwright's voice first, her tone polished and warm, followed by the deeper register of a man's voice. Someone has arrived. The afternoon begins. You rise slowly, smoothing the fabric down the front of your dress with practiced care. One more breath in, full, expansive, and then out, long and steady. Your shoulders ease, the muscles of your neck unclench. Readiness is not just a state of dress, it's a decision, a claiming of the space between before and now. Your fingers curl around the doorknob. It's cool, firm, the first thing you touch before stepping into character. The hallway unfurls ahead of you, quiet, almost reverent. You walk with intention, feet soft against the floorboards, balance and breath perfectly aligned. There's grace in this ease, even if no one sees it. As you descend, your hand trails the banister, smooth, worn by years of passage, shaped by the presence of women like you. The house sighs around you, floorboards shifting faintly beneath your steps. It is a body of its own, this house. Breathing, creaking, remembering. You listen to its rhythm and let it guide you. By the time your feet reach the last step, you are no longer uncertain, no longer preparing. You are present, ready. The parlor greets you with low light and quiet voices. Mrs. Cartwright is by the fireplace, poised, composed, a hand resting lightly on the mantel as if it belonged there. Her words are smooth, practiced, welcoming. The man beside her stands with his back turned to you, his coat dark, his shoulders broad, the cut of his clothing careful but not indulgent. A businessman, most likely. The kind who comes with manners and money, looking for softness at the edges of a hard life. You take one final breath, then step fully into the room, into the moment, into the role. You pause in the doorway, waiting to be acknowledged. Mrs. Cartwright glances up, gives you a slight nod. Permission to enter. "And here is Mary now," she says smoothly. "Mary, this gentleman was just asking." After some pleasant company for an hour or so, the visitor turns, revealing a face that matches your initial impression, around 45 with graying hair at the temples and the weathered complexion of someone who spends time outdoors. His expression is polite but slightly awkward. A new customer then. "Ow, how do you do, sir?" you say, dropping a small curtsy. Not too deep, just enough to show proper manners. Your voice is different now, a touch softer, slightly more refined than your natural speech. The professional voice learned through observation and practice. "Charles Wilson," he introduces himself, bowing slightly in return. Probably not his real name, many customers use aliases, but that hardly matters. "Would you care for some refreshment, Mr. Wilson?" Mrs. Cartwright asks, gesturing toward the small bar you polished earlier. "A glass of sherry, perhaps, or brandy, if you prefer. It's part of the ritual. This offer of a drink creates the illusion of a social call rather than a commercial transaction. Most men accept using the time to assess the women and settle their nerves if they're new to the house. Sherry would be most welcome," he says, and Mrs. Cartwright moves to pour it, her movements graceful and assured. You take the opportunity to study him more carefully. His clothes are good quality but show signs of wear, a businessman doing well enough but not extravagantly so. His hands reveal more, slightly roughened with clean but trimmed nails. Someone who works with his hands sometimes despite the business attire. A merchant, perhaps, or a shop owner who still helps with stock. Mrs. Cartwright hands him the glass of amber liquid, then excuses herself with practiced discretion. "I'll leave you two to become acquainted. The blue room is available when you're ready." With that, she slips from the parlor, closing the door softly behind her. Now it's just the two of you, standing a few feet apart in the quiet room. The fire crackles gently in the grate, sending shifting patterns of light across the walls. Outside, you can hear the muffled sounds of London, a cart passing, voices calling, the distant whistle of a train. "Please sit down," you say, gesturing to one of the armchairs by the fire. "Make yourself comfortable." He does, perching somewhat stiffly on the edge of the seat, nervous. Then you take the chair opposite, arranging your skirts with a practiced motion, not too close, giving him space, not appearing too eager. The dance has its steps, its rhythm. You ask the question softly, already knowing the answer, but offering him the grace of being asked. "Is this your first visit to Mrs. Cartwright's establishment?" He takes a sip of sherry, cherry sweet and sharp, before replying, "Is it that obvious?" You let a small smile curl at the corner of your lips, a smile carefully measured. "Not at all. I simply haven't had the pleasure of your company before." And you haven't. You know every name, every habit, every hesitation of the regulars, and he is not one of them. That seems to settle him, at least a little. His shoulders lose their stiff line and he leans back, more at ease now that he believes he's passed some kind of social test. "Yes, it's my first time," he admits. "A business associate recommended the address, said it was respectable." That word. Respectable. It hangs in the air like perfume, artificial, deliberate, meant to cover something more primal underneath. That word is the armor men wear when stepping into places like this, so they don't have to name what they're really doing. "Mrs. Cartwright runs a very proper house," you reply, your tone even, almost rehearsed. "You'll find everything here is conducted with discretion and good taste." He nods, more relaxed now. His second sip of sherry goes down smoother. His hand no longer trembles against the stem of the glass. He's settling into the rhythm. That's the thing about these moments. They follow a choreography, no matter how spontaneous they may seem. "And you, Miss Mary, was it? Have you been here long?" Always that question. A blend of curiosity and caution. It's how they try to gauge the story behind your presence without having to ask anything real. "Nearly 2 years, you say. Just the truth. No embellishment, no invitation to dig deeper. The conversation drifts comfortably like a boat on still water. Talk of the weather. A passing mention of the Crystal Palace. He hadn't seen the latest exhibition, but meant to. Vague references to his work importing tea and spices. Every word carefully placed, avoiding the edges of anything too intimate, too heavy. You listen. Watch. His voice has a controlled cadence, his manner polished but not disingenuous. His eyes meet yours without darting away, a good sign. Not all men can do that. He seems like someone who has been alone a long time. Maybe a widower. Maybe a man who still lives in a marriage that has long since gone silent. Either way, he's not here just for the act. He wants warmth, contact, something that feels, for however brief, a little like tenderness. As his glass empties, the silence between words grows fuller, heavier with implication. You know the shift when it comes. You can feel it like a change in pressure before the rain. Would you care to continue our conversation somewhere more private, Mr. Wilson? Your voice is quiet, warm, no seduction in it, only invitation. He sets the glass down with a soft clink and nods. Yes, I believe I would. You rise, your movements fluid, practiced not from performance but from presence. You know this room, this moment. The way your muscles settle when you stand, the subtle warmth of the fire as it touches your skin. You extend your hand, not to lead, not to claim, just to offer. This way. His hand brushes yours as he stands, a brief contact, neither rushed nor possessive before he lets go. You turn and he follows. You lead him out of the parlor, footsteps light on the carpeted hall, the old stairs creaking faintly beneath your weight. The blue room waits on the first floor, a neutral space not claimed by any of the girls. It's meant for daytime callers, and everything about it reflects that purpose. The decor is simple, careful not to suggest personality. Just soft furnishings, a freshly made bed, a modest washstand, and a chest of drawers holding everything required. Nothing more than comfort, nothing less than function. The moment itself is uneventful. Mr. Wilson is courteous. He treats you like a person, not a transaction. That alone already sets him apart. He doesn't rush. He isn't cruel. In fact, he's tender. He doesn't ask for anything unusual. The act is brief, almost perfunctory. What he seems to truly want is the stillness after. Your shoulder beneath his head, your fingers in his hair, your voice low and steady in the quiet. This, too, is part of the purchase. Not the body, but the pause, the illusion of being wanted, the comfort of being seen. You give it to him, because that's the work. But also, because on mornings like this, when your heart isn't yet armored, it feels less like performance and more like mercy. A shared silence, a borrowed kindness. When the hallway clock chimes Mrs. Cartwright's subtle way of marking time, he rises without protest. No awkward fumbling, no sour words, just quiet, practiced movements. He buttons his coat, smooths his collar, and then turns to you. Thank you, he says sincerely. He slips a small coin into your hand, more than required, less than generous, but meant kindly. You've been very kind. It was my pleasure, you reply instinctively. The phrase is routine, a threadbare script. But this time it doesn't feel like a lie. Mr. Wilson was gentle, respectful, and uncomplicated. In your world, that's a blessing. At the landing, Mrs. Nede, Winters appears with perfect timing. She'll see him out the back way, as always. No chance of crossing paths with the next man. The house runs like clockwork, every detail crafted to preserve discretion and dignity. You linger in the doorway for a moment after they disappear. The room feels different now, used, quiet, hollow in a way only you can feel. Then the work continues. You strip the bed with practiced hands. The sheets come away in one smooth motion, bundled into the laundry sack. From the chest, you pull a fresh set and spread it flat, your fingers smoothing every crease, restoring the illusion. The pillowcase is next. You fold the used one neatly and replace it. At the washstand, the water is cold, but your movements are deliberate. You cleanse yourself quickly but thoroughly, every gesture part of a ritual you no longer think about. The mirror catches your reflection, but you don't hold your gaze. There's no time for that. Not today. And so the morning passes, not with drama or grand events, but with quiet dignity stitched into every motion. In the stillness of dusting, in the polish of a glass, in the soft tick of a clock, a forgotten kind of strength is revealed, the kind that endures unnoticed but unbroken. Perhaps that's what survival looks like. Not a roar, but a whisper that refuses to fade. Did this quiet moment speak to you? Did you feel her breath in each circle, her presence in each careful step? If you enjoyed this story, please leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more stories like this. Most of all, don't forget to send your good night wishes in the comments, because even quiet hearts deserve to be tucked in gently. Good night, dear soul.